We're bombarded with data these days, right? Everywhere you look, it's data, data, data. But here's the catch. More data doesn't always mean better insights. Like, imagine you're baking a cake.
Okay.
If your ingredients are bad, doesn't matter how good of a baker you are.
Right.
That cake's going to be a disaster.
Little disaster.
And that's kind of what Airbnb was up against.
Yeah, they had this massive amount of data. I mean, we're talking over 1.4 billion guest arrivals by the end of 2022.
Wow.
So it's a potential gold mine, right?
Yeah.
But also a potential nightmare if the quality's not there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So in this deep dive, we're going to explore how they tackled this challenge by creating a data quality score.
Yeah.
It's like a credit score, but for data. Gives you a way to measure how trustworthy that data actually is.
And what's interesting is they initially tried to solve this by just like certifying their most critical data through a process they called Midas. And, it worked okay for a while, but they quickly realized manually certifying every single data set, not scalable at all.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah.
It would be like inspecting every single ingredient in a massive bakery. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So how did they go from this struggle with unreliable data to a system where everybody cares about quality?
So they had this aha moment where they realized instead of forcing people to meet these data quality standards, they needed to create a system that incentivized both the people making the data and the people using it to care.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you choose a restaurant, You look for places with good reviews.
Right.
Because those reviews incentivize you to choose quality and the restaurant to keep those standards up.
That's such a good analogy. So how do they apply that to their data?
They developed a data quality score.
Okay.
And it's based on 4 key dimensions: accuracy, reliability, stewardship, and usability.
Okay, break those down for me. What exactly do those mean when we're talking about data?
Sure. So accuracy is pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
It's about whether the data is actually correct, reflects reality.
Makes sense.
It's a foundation, right?
Yeah.
Then you've got reliability, which is often tied to timeliness.
Right.
Like, is the data delivered on time? Consistently.
So, like, if a data set's supposed to be updated every day, but it's always late?
Exactly.
That would be a low reliability score.
Exactly. You got it.
Okay, got it. Now, what about stewardship and usability? Those are a little...
Yeah, a little more nuanced.
Yeah.
So stewardship is about how well the data is managed and governed.
Okay.
So like clear ownership, documentation, following best practices.
Someone's really taking good care of it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
And then usability is all about how easy it is for someone to actually use and understand that data.
Okay.
So things like clear definitions, intuitive formatting, making sure it's accessible through their normal tools.
So can they actually make sense of it and use it?
Exactly.
It's interesting they included things like documentation and organization.
Yeah.
Because that's not always top of mind when you're just trying to get stuff done, right?
No, it's not usually the first thing you think about.
But it makes sense in a quality score.
Absolutely. And that's what's so innovative about this. It brings those often overlooked aspects to the forefront. It's not just about having the right data, but making sure it's presented in a way that people can actually use it.
So it builds trust.
Exactly.
And these dimensions, are they all weighted equally in the score?
They're not, actually.
Oh, really? So some are more important than others.
Yeah. So accuracy gets the highest weight.
Okay.
Followed by reliability, then stewardship, and finally usability.
So they're saying accuracy is paramount.
Yes.
But everything else matters too.
Exactly.
Interesting. So how do people at Airbnb actually see this score? Like, do they get a big flashing number?
Not quite. They've integrated it right into their data catalog, which they call Data Portal.
Got it.
So it's right there next to all the other information about each data set.
So it's like when you're browsing for data, you can immediately see how reliable and usable it is.
Exactly. Just like those restaurant reviews.
I like that analogy.
And to make it even more useful, they present it in 3 different ways.
Okay.
So first, there's a single overall score from 0 to 100.
All right, so you get a quick snapshot.
Exactly. Then you can dig deeper and see the individual scores for each dimension.
Oh, so you can see where the weaknesses are.
Exactly. And then they even provide a detailed breakdown with specific steps on how to improve.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's super transparent.
That's great because it really empowers both the people making the data and the people using it.
Yeah, they can see exactly what needs to be fixed and choose data sets that meet their needs.
So data quality becomes everybody's responsibility.
Exactly.
So what kind of impact has this had? Have they seen actual improvement in their data?
Oh, absolutely. They've seen some great results already. Improved discoverability, increased trust in the data,
That's great.
and most importantly, more strategic data quality efforts.
So it's not just about fixing problems after the fact.
Right. It's about preventing them.
I like that.
Yeah.
Does this score then replace their initial Midas certification?
It actually works alongside it.
Oh, okay.
So they still certify the most critical data,
Okay.
but the score lets them encourage good practices across all their data sets.
So it's like a high bar for the most important stuff,
Yeah.
but a baseline for everything else.
Exactly.
That's a really smart approach.
Yeah.
What's next for this score? Are they going to expand it?
They're always innovating. They're actually looking to expand it to other data assets,
Interesting.
like metrics, event logs,
Oh, wow.
even machine learning features
So they're really trying to make data quality a priority.
across the entire data ecosystem.
That's really impressive. This has been a fascinating look at Airbnb's approach to data quality.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
It's amazing how they've gotten everyone to care about having reliable data.
Yeah.
And, it's not just about having more data, it's about having data you can trust.
Couldn't agree more.
But what does all of this mean for our listeners? How can they take these ideas and use them in their own work? We'll explore that and more after the break.
So we've been talking about how Airbnb totally changed their approach to data quality, right? With this data quality score. It's pretty amazing how they've gotten everyone thinking about data in a whole new way.
It really is. They've made it everyone's responsibility, which I think is key.
Absolutely. But how does this score actually motivate people to make that data better?
Yeah, it's one thing to have a score, but how does it actually lead to change?
That's a great question. For data producers, it comes down to transparency. The score gives them this clear measure of how good their data is,
Okay.
and it shows them exactly where they need to improve. It's like having a data coach in your corner.
Oh, I like that. No more guessing games.
Exactly. And people are actually motivated to improve their score because it's public.
Really?
Yeah, everyone within Airbnb can see it.
So there's some accountability there.
Exactly. It's like those restaurant reviews, remember?
Right. If you have bad reviews,
You're going to lose customers.
nobody wants that.
So it's the same idea here, but with data. Reputation matters.
Makes sense. So it's clear how the score helps the data producers. But what about the people using that data?
For them, the score is like a quick and easy way to know if they can trust a data set
Okay.
before they even start using it.
So they don't waste time with bad data.
Exactly. It's like a safety rating for data.
Interesting.
You wouldn't get in a car with a 1-star safety rating, would you?
You definitely not. So why use data with a bad quality score?
Right.
It's like that extra bit of confidence before you start a project.
Exactly.
You're working with good information.
You're not going to run into problems down the line.
Exactly. So it's a win-win for everyone.
Absolutely. And Airbnb's not stopping there.
Really?
They're using the score to drive bigger data quality efforts across the company.
So it's more than just fixing individual data sets.
Way more.
What do you mean by that?
They're combining the score with information about how all the different data sets are being used.
Oh, interesting. So they can figure out which ones are the most important.
Okay.
The ones that are used all the time and have a big impact on decisions.
So they can focus their efforts.
Exactly. Prioritization is key.
Makes sense. So they're using data to improve data.
It's pretty clever, right?
I love that. They're using their own data about data usage to guide their data quality work.
And any organization can do this.
Oh, really?
By understanding how their data is being used.
Yeah.
They can prioritize their efforts.
Right.
No more wasting time on data that nobody uses.
Well, Airbnb's data quality score, it's a powerful tool. Not just for improving data reliability, but for creating a culture of data quality.
Absolutely. It's a fundamental shift in how they think about data.
And what's cool is that it's not some crazy complicated system.
Right.
It's actually a pretty simple idea that anyone can understand and use.
You don't need to be a data scientist.
Exactly. Which is what makes it so effective.
It's about creating a system
Where everyone's working together.
towards better data.
And that's a lesson that any organization can benefit from.
So the big question is, how can you apply these principles in your own work? What are the incentives that drive good data practices in your organization? Are you giving your data the attention it deserves? Let's dive into that next. So we've seen how Airbnb is doing it, but what about the rest of us?
Right, because it's easy to hear a story like that.
Yeah.
Think, well, that's great for a huge company like Airbnb, but what about my company?
Yeah, mine doesn't have billions of data points to worry about.
Right.
How can these principles work for a smaller organization or
Yeah.
even just a single team?
That's what's so cool about these ideas.
Okay.
They're universal. Whether you're dealing with customer data or financial stuff,
Mm-hmm.
even scientific research,
Yeah,
everybody needs good data.
good point. So let's talk about that idea of incentivization.
Yeah.
How do we create a culture where people actually want to have good data?
Yeah.
It can't just be about punishing them when it's bad.
Right. Definitely not. It's got to be about positive reinforcement.
Oh, okay.
So recognize and reward people when they do it right.
So, like, acknowledge it publicly.
Yeah. Make it clear that good data is valued.
Even something small like a shout out at a meeting or a little
Yeah.
bonus, it can go a long way,
Absolutely. Everyone likes to be appreciated.
for sure. But it's not just about individual praise, right?
No, you need systems and processes in place, too.
Okay, so look at the tools the team's using.
Exactly. Are they easy to use?
Mm-hmm.
Do they encourage good data practices?
And if not,
Maybe it's time for some new tools or some training?
right, a little investment up front can save a lot of headaches later.
Exactly. And communication is huge, too.
Yeah. Why is that?
Make sure everyone understands why data quality matters
Okay.
and how their work contributes to the bigger picture.
It's not just a data person problem.
Right. Everyone needs to be on board.
So if someone's listening to this and they're like, okay, this all makes sense, but where do I start?
Yeah.
What's that first step?
Yeah. You don't need to go all in on a complex scorecard right away.
Okay.
Start small. Figure out which data is the most important.
The stuff that really drives decisions.
Exactly. And focus on improving that first.
So pick your battles.
Yeah. And once you've got that down, then you can expand.
Makes sense. It's about building that momentum, making data quality a priority for everyone.
You got it. And remember, good data leads to good decisions.
Absolutely.
So by investing in data quality, you're investing in your whole organization.
This has been such a great conversation. I think what I've learned is that it's not about having more data. It's about having data you can actually trust
Couldn't agree more.
and use to make good decisions. That's something we can all work towards.
Absolutely. It's been great talking about this with you.
Likewise. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Airbnb's data journey. As you go about your work, think about the data you use and how you can play a part in making sure it's high quality. Because in the end, it's not just about the data itself. It's about the impact it has on everything you do